So Rampage, President Down was released in 2016, and this is the third and final chapter to the Rampage trilogy, directed by Uwe Boll, and arguably this is some of the better films that he has made, which is kind of a popular opinion, you could say, being that Uwe Boll is known for not doing the greatest films. If you didn't like the first two, this one is not going to have anything in it that's going to win you over necessarily. Now, I almost caved and watched this one first because it's the only one that's streaming on Tubi. And before I bought the first two, I almost caved and watched this one. It's a good thing that I didn't, and I never do that. I always watch trilogies in order because the OCD gets to me and I just have to watch everything in order. And I pretty much always refuse, including for this, to watch movies out of order. And it's a good thing because it's good to watch this trilogy beginning to end. It really tells a good story. It's almost like a series. This trilogy could have been made into like an episodic series and worked exactly the same. But this one continues the story with Bill Williamson. This movie also does do a lot of flashbacks, so it ties in a lot that happened in the previous films. It kind of works like Saw does, like the Saw movies, where each one will give you flashbacks and kind of connect different things and show you things that were happening before or after, kind of thing. And this film starts off in the alley, which was in the second film, where those two homeless guys are in. And Bill Williamson comes along, and one of them is dead. And then he's like, "See, I told you. Why didn't you listen to me? Why didn't you stick up for yourself?" And he goes on a spiel, and then another guy walks by, and he shoots him down. And there's a Target, like the store, in the background. So Uwe Boll's a risque motherfucker when it comes to these films because product placement and even people he names, like actual celebrities and actual public figures, he names by name in this film. So I don't know how he got away with it. I don't know how he didn't get in trouble with doing a lot of things that he did in this film. I'll get to the specifics about it, but like I'm just surprised he wasn't sued because when he mentions actual public figures, he doesn't put them in the best name, and I don't know. Like I said, how he got away with it. Not that these films are exceptionally popular, and they don't have any wide release whatsoever, but anyways, right now, Bill Williamson is hiding in a cabin in the woods, basically. And this film is called President Down. I thought that the whole film would be just targeting the president and kind of going after him and kind of trying to get away from the SWAT, and then it would kind of get into a climax where the president dies. No, president's down at the beginning, like 10 minutes into the movie. So this guy somehow got into DC and shot the president. He's a expert at gun use, so he's trained himself to be SWAT essentially. He still has his suit and everything. But how he got into DC and how he shot the president is not explained whatsoever. It's kind of ridiculous. Where he got the vantage point to be able to shoot the president, it's not said. It just basically says president down, and now they're looking for who did it, kind of thing. And he's in hiding, so nobody suspects it to be him. They're just going through the file database. The FBI is working tirelessly to piece together who killed the president, kind of thing. And there's one thing. This film would have been as good as the first one, really. The second one is my favorite, but I gave the first a 2.5 and the second a 3.5, and then this one I was going to give a 2.5, but it came down to a 2. There's only one thing I despise about this film, and it's a plot that they put, or Uwe Boll put into it. It was actually written by Uwe Boll and Brendan Fletcher. And they introduce a girlfriend of Bill's, and Bill is seeing this girl and has a baby with this girl, and this child is a few months old. There's no fucking explanation where this girl came from. She wasn't in the second movie or mentioned ever. He just now has a girl and a kid, and she's with him the whole way through the whole ride. This guy butchered and massacred an exceptional amount of people, and then the second film took out a whole fucking, what do you call those, corporate buildings, and took hostages and murdered more people. And this guy is like wanted by every force in the United States and is an evil man. And this woman had a child with this guy. Why? Like, she seems completely normal. There's nothing about this woman that suggests that she's has the same conspiracy mind as he does. They don't really have chemistry. She just shows up, and I couldn't stand that aspect. I just couldn't understand why they decided to bring her in. Now, at the end of the movie, there's a part where he's making he makes YouTube videos through the whole trilogy, but he's making a specific DVD for his son. And they really try to play into the emotional heartstrings, how he wants to leave like a legacy for his son as a fucking massacre, fucking terrorist basically. But they try to like, he tries to do kind of like the Rob Zombie route in Devil's Rejects, where he tries to make the villains sympathetic somehow in some sick, twisted way. And Devil's Rejects kind of worked, but this one doesn't at all. But I think they introduced the girl and the child just for that specific reason, to make this film pull at the heartstrings and show that this guy, even though he's doing the most horrendous, vile things, is doing it for a purpose. But for God's sakes, could you explain where the bitch came from at least? Or what makes her attracted to this guy? Because they're having these sentimental moments in the cave that he's hiding in the forest, and they're like having this lovey-dovey stuff, and she's acting like she loves him, and I'm wondering, like, then she must not know. She must be in the dark about what he's done. And no, they don't suggest that she is. She knows everything that he's done. And at the end of the movie, she sees that he dies at the end of the movie. Spoiler alert. And she sees that I'm on the news, and that the FBI got to him. And she sticks up for him. She's like, he wasn't a bad person. He wasn't a terrorist, you son of a bitch. He was just doing what's right, or something like that. So I don't know if she knew exactly how far he went. She must have, though, because he was always on the news, and she always knew who he was, and she knew his motive. So it's not like she wouldn't know to the extent that that Bill Williamson went with his psychoticness, because she must have. It's so beyond convenient, and it's so convoluted where she came from. Like, it just was way too thrown in to be believable. Like, there's no. It just makes the movie dumber. It brings it down that half star, and I ended up giving it a 2 just because of that. The film is actually, the rest of it around that whole girlfriend with kid becoming a father plot piece was actually really damn good as a conclusion. This film concludes really well. And I like these two characters that they introduce in the FBI. Their names are Jones and Malachi. And Jones and Malachi, one thing I forgot to mention in the other reviews is a lot of the dialogue in these films are improvised. Some people like that, some people don't. They don't do a bad job. Sometimes it works because the actors are more kind of naturally bantering back and forth. And in this one, it kind of works, especially between Jones and Malachi. They're politically different, right and left, and they always argue about like terrorism and ISIS. They mention ISIS in this film, and this is 2016, so ISIS was definitely more global problem, and in the news more, you could say, and coming after, especially. It was big in like the between 2000 and 2010 from what I remember. But man, like, that's another thing about Uwe Boll throwing all this political shit into his films. Like, this guy has balls of steel to attempt to go as far as he does into politics and even religion. But the banter between these guys is interesting because they are so politically polar, and then they argue about black crime and who's committing the crimes in America. The majority of people in jail are black, yada yada, ISIS, every touchy subject you can come up with. Uwe Boll put it in, and just like, okay guys, go at each other with it, and like, one's far right, one's far left, just start arguing. And their banters, I liked them both. I liked both characters. I felt for both characters. And there's an aspect of the movie where Bill Williamson somehow bugs or finds a way to listen in to the FBI. How? I don't know. I mean, how this guy gets away, or has the knowledge to do everything he does. It's These movies are packed with convenience and you kind of just have to go with them. But he's able to listen to the conversations of these guys, so he gets all the information about their families and stuff like that, and then he fucks with them on video, and he makes YouTube videos specifically for them, and mentions their daughters' names and their wives' names and stuff like that. And Malachi especially, like loses his shit. I liked his acting. I like both their acting, Malachi and Jones. But their characters added another element and another layer to the movie that I really, really liked, and everything that was going on with the FBI was great. And when they start going after him, when they find Bill in the forest and the FBI goes for him, you really feel for both these guys because you feel the passion and the rage that they've built for this guy and the personal vendetta that they have going after Bill. So I really, really like that aspect. They find Bill through facial recognition, and they take forever to do so because they have to sift through like everybody in the FBI database in all of North America. And they finally find Bill, and they recognize his face. He was known to be deceased, but they literally see him in Washington D.C. minutes before the president was shot. So they got this guy, and all of a sudden, because of Bill's doing, and he has somebody on the inside, the system totally crashes. Everything crashes. They lose everything. So they have to do everything over again before they could get the face and the files and the proof, you could say, to the people on top of the FBI. Before they can do that, it crashes. So they have no evidence. They just lost their evidence again. And the media, because they lost their evidence and they couldn't like get it nationwide, the media starts to blame ISIS, and ISIS kind of like, even though ISIS knows they had nothing to do with shooting the president, they take the fame, I guess you could, because ISIS despises America, so any attention they could bring upon themselves, they'll just take. And so the whole media is blaming ISIS, and the FBI is like, we caught this guy. You guys are a bunch of idiots. Why are you fucking blaming ISIS again? And then that turns into a whole politics situation where the media is always lying to you and everything. Like, this film is politically heavy and, like, really, really controversial. If you know any, like, politics nuts, that you show this movie to, they're just gonna flip. One, because the politics are heavy, and two, because they're, I'm quite sure, not accurate whatsoever. And this film is just gonna start complete arguments with anybody who's heavily opinionated on politics. But so I like the chase, like I said, with Bill through the forest with the FBI, and I like how everything plays out in a conclusion with this film. And the shootout in the forest, he tells the FBI, like, I know you're coming, come for me. We'll have a little Wild Wild West situation going on. And this guy sets up, like, he goes beyond Rambo. Like, he sets up, like, remote-controlled machine guns over there, and he's got, like, a rocket launcher on him, and he still has his suit from the first movie. And this guy goes ballistic. Like, this guy is an intelligent psychopath like crazy. And he sets up this whole, like, he sets up the whole forest essentially to be like booby trapped. Essentially, it's Home Alone in the forest kind of thing, kind of, not really, but you understand my point. And when they get him, because he made such impact on social media, and because he created a cult essentially, the film ends with his cult after his death to kind of continue his legacy go after every rich person in the United States, because Bill Williamson's mission is basically to take out the rich, because the rich just own everything and want to make everybody else poor, and he just wants to destroy the rich essentially. So he created this cult of people, and the whole fucking ending turns into the Purge, and you have these people dressed in black just going after everybody rich. And this is where he starts mentioning celebrities' names. He's like, the newscaster on the thing, she gets a paper, she's like, so we have just realized that Mark Zuckerberg is now deceased, as well as Rihanna, Taylor Swift, Bill Gates, and Britney Spears. She just starts mentioning a bunch of actual celebrities on the news, and that's where I'm like, did these people like get paid to have their names mentioned? Because Uwe Boll's gonna he's gonna be like if they see this movie, I don't know, as fucking Rihanna or Britney Spears or Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg seen Rampage President Down, probably not. My guess is gonna be probably not, but if they were to, I think he might have a lawsuit in his hands because he just lists them, actual like public figures, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, holy shit! How did Uwe Boll get away with this? It's insane. So these guys are basically causing a revolution, and they're America's going into purge mode really, and you have all these people just attacking the rich, and that DVD that Bill made for his girlfriend, she watches it and she's crying, and this is where he's saying his heartfelt speech to his son, saying he did it for a purpose and he wants his son to like grow up and be whoever he wants to be, kind of thing, and she's crying, and then she sees the footage on the news on everything, like America going into a riot, and then she just breaks the DVD, and she's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe he was so awful." I'm like, "Bitch, where were you? Like, this is what I don't understand." She knew what he did. She was crying, but as soon as the riot starts, that crosses the line. That's the line she had. She was fine. Okay, you can kill like hundreds of people. I love you, but now you're getting other people to kill hundreds more. So now I hate you. Fuck you. Your legacy dies. Your child will never know who you are. I just don't get it. I don't get that piece of writing. I don't get why they put the bitch in the first place in there. Not that she's a bad character. It's just she's such an unnecessary character, and they didn't fucking introduce her. So you don't. It's like, here's a girl. Bill has a kid. Because okay, you couldn't add like a minute and a half in the last movie to like explain where she came from somehow, like real short, just kind of like introduce her in any way. I don't know. But then this is my favorite part of the ending, and how this film actually is kind of fucked up the way it ends. The homeless guy at the beginning busts into the news anchor room, shoots everybody in there, turns to the camera and says, "Bill Williamson saved my life. This one's for him." And he just holds up his gun. He says it a lot more sinister than I do, but he's all clean shaven. He has his hair slicked back. He doesn't look homeless anymore, but you can tell it's him again. And you're just like, oh, that's powerful. That's fucked up, but that's a powerful way to end the movie, man. Like that's a powerful and ballsy way to end the film that's already ballsy as hell to begin with, like the whole trilogy kind of thing. So overall, although this film was a really, really great conclusion to the Rampage trilogy, and I enjoyed the Rampage trilogy, this is the weakest, especially just because of that stupid plot line. They don't need him having a kid, even though they wanted to add that somehow to the plot. If they wanted to that bad, they could have done it better. But it was a good conclusion, and like I said, the second one, Capital Punishment, was, in my opinion, my favorite, the one that I thought was done best. So, that's the Rampage trilogy. I hope you've seen it if you're watching these reviews. If not, go check it out. It's worth watching, especially binging all three in a row. Because like I said, it's very much like a series you would see on Netflix, and it works that way. And I like the way these films are put together. Even though you have to suspend your disbelief a lot, like a lot, they're still fun, and they're very, very disturbing. Like, they're highly disturbing and highly political, like I said. So keep that in mind. If all that is fine with you, go check them out. If you're okay with everything I just said, go check them out, because they are fun. So subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back with more soon, so stay tuned for those. Check out what's on the channel already. Stay tuned for what's coming. Until next review, have a good one. Take care and cheers.